that was the beginning of my journey. I did door-to-door sales. That was the first job that I did out of university. And I was knocking on doors. I was knocking on doors in Tennessee, trying to sell books in the summer, right? In the summer, that's what I was doing because I didn't have any education. I didn't know how to get out, and I just wanted to make a ton of money. At the end of that first summer, I made $15,000 selling door to door in Butt Crack, Tennessee, and I was like, okay, if I can sell books, I can do whatever the fuck I want. So I go to the dean of my university, and at that moment, I wanted to be I wanted to work in the media, right? I wanted to work in the news outlet, shit like that, right? So I go to him. I was like, hey, what do I have to do to be a news anchor? What do I have to do to work in kind of like Fox News or one of these outlets? All of them are bullshit, by the way. And he's like, well, you don't have the right qualifications or the right credits or the right acumen because you got an 8 out of 10 in this class. You got a 6 out of 10 in this class. I didn't give a fuck about school, even though I was paying a ton of money for it. And he was like, well, you're not qualified. I said, bitch, what makes you think I got to be qualified? I'm still going to get that shit. Send out a couple emails, send out a couple LinkedIn messages. Within two weeks, I have a job at the Washington Post, obviously. And so I make my way to Washington, D.C. in my car, my little old Buick, making my way up to Washington, D.C. This is, I think, the year 2015. And I land there. I'm staying at a buddy's house on an inflatable mattress. And he's like, well, you got 2 weeks. You got to find a job because obviously this job isn't going to pay you very well right off the bat. So I'm like, okay, fuck it. So I go and start working at a restaurant, working 2 restaurant jobs. And then my car breaks down because I had an accident. My car wasn't working. So I had to commute. I had to commute for 2 reasons. The first reason, I couldn't afford to pay the bills on my car. And when I did get it fixed, I couldn't afford the parking in Washington, D.C., right? I couldn't afford the parking. So I was like, okay, sounds good. I guess I'm just going to sit in this free parking spot right outside of Washington, D.C. When I do drive in, I'll just sleep in my car. I'll shower at Planet Fitness. And if I ever need to commute to work, I'll just take the bus for 2 hours and then I'll take the metro for 30 minutes. So I was commuting 5 hours a day to make tips and to work at the Washington Post, which, by the way, as soon as I walk into the Washington Post, this motherfucker comes to me and tells me, you're the intern. You got to listen to what I say. I'm like, bro, you're a fucking 50-year-old man fighting with a teenager. I turned around, got up and left. I never walked back into that place. I didn't even want to pay for my fucking parking. So I was like, all right, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And I just continued working my slave job, waiting tables. At that moment, I'm in my teens, and a fellow server hits me up and he's like, hey, I started making money in stocks. This was before any of you guys could, you knew any of the stock shit, before any of that stuff, right? I'm in a situation where somebody exposes me to the stock market. This is when Tesla was like $125. And the next day he comes to me, he's like, have you heard about Bitcoin? I'm like, wait, what's Bitcoin? I'm like, that shit's expensive. It's $400. I'm like, damn, that shit's expensive. Because I would make, like $100 and $150, $200 in tips that day. And I couldn't afford a whole lot. At that moment, I was also starting e-commerce because my brother kind of got me into e-com. And what we would do is the tips that we would receive that day, we would go to Wells Fargo, go to the bank. I remember it very vividly. We would deposit the money. Half of the money would go to Bitstamp. We would buy Bitcoin very cheap. And then the other half would be our ad spend for the next day, right? So this was before, the tracking pixel was popular, before any sort of 3PL for e-commerce and logistics was popular. It was very much bare bones. You could, of course, run a picture ad and it would convert extremely well. But the point is, the money that I was making, I wasn't flexing. I wasn't out here saving it. I was investing it into myself. All of it, every single penny, I was reinvesting. So here you have a teenager working 2 waiting jobs, sleeping in his car, showering at Planet Fitness or whatever the gym was that I went to. And then in the evening, I would deposit my cash, do e-commerce with the ad revenue, and half of it would go to Bitstamp, an old ass exchange. I don't even know if people use it anymore to buy Bitcoin. It was a big fiasco. Then 2017 rolls around. I get a pretty substantial cut of, or a pretty substantial boost in my net worth because crypto has that 2017 bull run. I was buying Cardano at a penny, right? I was buying Cardano at a penny and then went to $1.60. So, you put in $1,000, it was 160 grand. So you guys understand kind of like I've been making money for a long ass time. And what I realized was, okay, I need to double down on making more money. So we really doubled down on e-commerce and started printing. Now, the big problem that I had in 2017 was that I made the big mistake of listening to everybody. I was listening to the mistake of crypto's always going to go up, everything's always going to do well. I bought into the moon boy kind of mentality. You know, we had Pompeo saying, dude, hodl, hodl, hodl. You know, we had diamond hands this bull run. Last bull run was like the hodl bull run. And this guy, through his firm, he was selling his Bitcoin while telling us motherfuckers to buy. And that's when I realized I got to learn this shit. I got to do it on my own. I can't be relying on some bullshit Forex algo to trade. I can't be relying on some guru to tell me some tactic in e-commerce. I really got to figure this shit out, because I got beat up like most of you guys this bull run because you're newbies. Next bull run, you'll do extremely well. But what happened to me in 2017 was I lost most of my money. I lost most of everything. And the reason I lost most of everything was because I listened to the masses and I didn't learn how to create wealth, multiply wealth, but more importantly, which is something very few of you guys have learned, was to preserve wealth. And if you understand how to preserve wealth, then your net worth isn't going to do this. And if you guys do something that is valuable after the stream, do the following thing. Chart your net worth over the last couple of years. Chart it. Like actually like envision charting. Like what did your net worth look like over the last 2-3 years? And then when your net worth dips, figure out what caused the dip in your net worth, right? And don't look at the mistake, but look at the lesson and remember the lesson. So what was my lesson in 2017? One is I need to make a ton of money so that I can deploy into the markets. And whenever everybody gets hysteric about buying, it's when you sell. Fast forward 2020, I made tens of millions of dollars in e-commerce. Shout out to Stephen Evan Tan for really inspiring me in that process. And I put every single dollar of my net worth into crypto. Every single dollar. I was down to like $600 in my bank account. It was 2020. And I think it was March of 2020. I was smoking a joint. I had rented like a villa down in Florida while everybody was masked up, freaking out. I had predicted and told people that lockdowns were going to happen. It was obvious. And it hit us. And the Black Swan event came, and I'm out here buying XRP at 10 cents, buying tens of thousands of dollars of Ethereum, sub $80. It's on my stories. You guys can go and cross-reference the dates. It's on my highlights. I posted it publicly every single day, 10 grand, 10 grand, 10 grand, every single day. Ethereum, Bitcoin. I remember buying ADA on, what is it? Bittrex. I had Bittrex orders placed of like $10,000 at a penny, and all of them filled, all the orders filled. So I was like, okay, now I'm going to sit on this and hopefully like it works.